Planning Basics: What Planning in Oregon Means for Planning in Springfield, June 2025. While Springfield is guided by a number of complex planning documents, these ultimately serve as practical resources for realizing everyday benefits in our lives, such as travel infrastructure, clean water, places to live, parks, and other places to enjoy. Some of these changes happen quickly, but often can happen on smaller scales in ways that are not widely recognized, and can take years before we see results. City of Springfield pursues comprehensive planning in a way that seeks to coordinate and relate separate topics to one another, so it can create a holistic, healthy, and efficient community within the urban growth boundary that Springfield calls home. The state of Oregon has a planning framework for its cities and counties that dictates the structure and realization of land use in these areas. Today, we'll be discussing Oregon's statewide planning goals, the overarching local policy documents that frame specific land use planning in Springfield, and the implementing tools that ultimately guide development projects and activities. In 1973, the state of Oregon passed Senate Bill 100, establishing a unique statewide planning framework. This legislation created the Land Conservation and Development Commission, or LCDC, created the Department of Land Conservation and Development, or DLCD, created statewide planning goals, and required cities and counties to adopt comprehensive land use plans and regulations. Oregon's 19 statewide land use planning goals are the foundation for planning in Oregon. The goals express the state's policies on land use and related topics, like engaging with communities, housing, transportation, and natural resources. Not all goals will apply to every geography within the state. Although most statewide planning goals relate directly to the city of Springfield, several do not, including those related to farming and forest lands, and those directly related to ocean resources. Most goals are accompanied by guidelines, which are suggestions about how a place can achieve a goal. Different from these guidelines, many goals also have rules that detail what local governments must do in their work to achieve these goals. Ultimately, Oregon's statewide planning goals are achieved through local comprehensive planning. State law requires each city and county to adopt a comprehensive plan and the implementing ordinances needed to put the plan into effect. Local comprehensive plans must be consistent with the statewide planning goals. Plans are reviewed for such consistency by the state's Land Conservation and Development Commission, or LCDC. When LCDC officially approves a local government's plan, the plan is said to be acknowledged. It then becomes the controlling document for land use in the area covered by that plan. There are many resources available to learn more about Oregon's planning history and current practices, and how all of these play into how Springfield functions today, specifically in terms of its built and natural environments, which affects what we experience day to day as we go about our lives. The charge for local communities in Oregon in response to the state's governing statewide planning goals is to begin planning for land use with a comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan addresses local conditions and priorities, organizing them into chapters or elements by each statewide planning goal. For example, comprehensive plans describe where the city may grow in the future and how it can do so in a way that protects rural farm and forest land and other natural resources. They talk about transportation and other types of infrastructure, and more. Visions, goals, actionable policies, and measurable strategies of these plans commonly look forward for a 20-year period based around meeting the needs of their current and future populations. The plan has two fundamental parts, a map and text, that ultimately describes the map. The map depicts land use designations, often referred to as plan designations. This would include designations such as residential, employment, and resource lands that appear as different colors on the map. The text component of the comprehensive plan correlates to the plan map with policy statements and goals. While these plans are based on existing conditions, their focus is to speak to how we use our land, where those uses should be located, and activities related to achieving those desired outcomes going forward. These plans are guided by goals and policies that reflect the community's unique vision, respond to current needs and conditions, and provide guidance for implementing and amending the plan. The plan is implemented through ordinances, zoning, codes, or other regulations. It is crucial to note that it is ultimately the comprehensive plan that has the force of law and is the guiding land use document for each local jurisdiction. The Development Code is the most important tool in day-to-day planning efforts. It is the primary implementation tool for the comprehensive plan and is used in conjunction with the zoning map. Elements of the Development Code include land use districts, which are typically designated consistently with the comprehensive plan map, but often with additional nuance and detail. Uses, which describe what land uses may occur in each land use district, and whether they are permitted outright and can go straight to construction review or are subject to approval criteria and a land use planning application, sometimes discretionary criteria. Development standards, which outline requirements such as minimum lot sizes, yard setbacks, and height requirements within land use districts. Other types of standards such as natural resource protection, off-street parking, and landscaping requirements are also typical development standards. The Development Code will also include an outline of process and procedures for processing land use applications, like land divisions, variances, conditional use permits, and zone changes. A common question in Oregon land use planning is, why do we have both a comprehensive plan map and a zoning map? And what is the difference and relationship between the plan designations of the comprehensive plan map and the land use districts, or zones, presented in a zoning map? A key theme of the distinctions is that the zoning map is subordinate to the comprehensive plan map because the comprehensive plan map is the controlling, policy-level instrument directing the future of land use in the jurisdiction. Zoning is more detailed in its technical focus, while comprehensive plans are more vision-based and aspirational. The zoning map cannot typically allow a more intensive land use than is shown on the comprehensive plan map for the same area. Sometimes there's inconsistencies or conflicts based on outdated designations and/or zoning that will need to be resolved prior to development. But zoning is often more specifically worded to guide users of the Development Code to the site design detail. An example of a comprehensive plan designation being consistent with the zoning classification, but with slightly different wording, would be a property that has a commercial plan designation but is within a neighborhood commercial zone. An example of conflicts between a community commercial plan designation and heavy industrial zoning can be seen around 28th and Main Street. One property has split zoning of R1 heavy industrial with a commercial plan designation that the property owner has inquired about how to address so they can expand their business on the western half of the property. The largest number of potential conflicts include properties with medium-density residential land use designation and R1 zoning. This accounts for approximately a third of all potential plan zone conflicts and includes over 250 properties. The second most common potential conflict includes properties with low-density residential land use designation and R2 zoning. The third most common discrepancy exists between properties with different commercial and residential land use designations and/or zoning. Development codes address a community's needs for a range of property types, land use, and design to bring the plan vision to reality at the site or property level. Development codes also need to be maintained and to adapt to adjustments to the community's vision going forward. Codes also outline land use and permit review processes that range from highly discretionary decisions, such as adjustments to the community's vision and policies or to the plan map, and to highly objective decisions, like a permit review to simply confirm the height of a sign or how far a building is from the sidewalk or another building. Touching on local comprehensive plans mentioned earlier, many Oregon communities have what we refer to as a comprehensive planning framework, which can include several independent plans, sometimes referred to as functional plans or refinement plans. Depending on a community's size, it may have several more focused plans that outline policies for specific geographies or topic areas like transportation, natural resources, or infrastructure within their urban growth boundary. The following three plans are key parts of Springfield's comprehensive planning framework: the Eugene-Springfield Metropolitan Area General Plan, the Springfield Comprehensive Plan, and its neighborhood refinement plans. The Eugene-Springfield Metropolitan Area General Plan, commonly referred to as the Metro Plan, was adopted in 1980 and represented a culmination of decades of planning for development in the Eugene-Springfield region. The Metro Plan served for many years as the sole official long-range comprehensive plan for metropolitan Lane County and the cities of Eugene and Springfield. The Metro Plan's aim was to align with the state's emphasis on taking a big-picture look at how to wisely use urban land for development, while also protecting farm and forest land. As such, the Metro Plan's policies sought to identify and reserve an amount of land that could one day be developed into urban uses within the shared metropolitan boundary to accommodate a population of nearly 300,000 people by the present date. In 2007, the Oregon legislature passed a law that required Eugene and Springfield to establish separate urban growth boundaries and other requirements that initiated Springfield's and Eugene's pursuit of independent comprehensive planning. Springfield continues its transition from relying solely on the regional metro plan to completing a city-specific comprehensive plan with Springfield-specific goals and policies for certain plan elements, which function like chapters. The Springfield Comprehensive Plan serves as a basis for what Springfield wants to see and accomplish for a time frame of 20 years, with a focus on economic development, residential land use and housing, recreation, transportation, and urbanization. The Policy Cross-Reference handout provides an overview of the relationship between the Metro Plan and the Springfield Comprehensive Plan for specific elements and specific policies related to the Housing and Design Initiative project. The first element for Springfield's own comprehensive plan was the residential land and housing element to meet statewide Planning Goal 10, which focuses on the need to provide an adequate supply of housing of various types for people with a variety of incomes. An important distinction about this element is that it is a supplement to and expands upon the residential land use and housing element of the Metro Plan, meaning it supports and complements the Metro Plan instead of replacing it. While the Metro Plan's regional housing goals and policies still apply to Springfield, the fact-based statements in the Metro Plan residential land use and housing no longer apply. The Metro Plan will continue to include some of the regional land use planning that is collaboratively addressed by Lane County, Eugene, and Springfield. It will also refer its readers to other jointly adopted plans and Springfield's and Eugene's city-specific comprehensive land use planning documents. Any future changes to the Metro Plan will continue to involve Lane County working with Springfield or Eugene. They will sometimes involve all three cities and can involve projects for specific districts who focus on specific topics, such as the Public Facilities and Services Plan, which focuses on sewer and water and aligns with Oregon statewide Planning Goal 11. Additional elements for Springfield's comprehensive plan will be created over time. Another key part of Springfield's comprehensive planning framework is Springfield's 7 adopted neighborhood refinement plans. This map represents several of those neighborhood plan areas, including Gateway, Glenwood, Q Street, East Kelly Butte, Downtown, Mid-Springfield, and East Main. Springfield's neighborhood refinement plans address specific needs identified by residents and businesses of a specific area. They seek to make sure each neighborhood is celebrated for its unique qualities. This all must be done so within the framework of the Springfield Comprehensive Plan. These plans often list priorities such as park improvements, more development of a certain type, to keep certain areas preserved and avoid redevelopment, for example in historic districts, or better traffic circulation in the area. Some plans discuss design. For example, Springfield's downtown and Glenwood refinement plans emphasize the importance of streetscape design, parking, street trees, pedestrian and bicycle circulation, lighting, and how different types of uses could work well together in a relatively small area. Springfield's first refinement plans were adopted in the 1980s. With so much that can change over time and so much that has happened since, Springfield has recognized opportunities to update pieces of text like a policy statement or to update the diagram or map on a property-specific basis. Refinement plans can also be changed to reimagine things in a bigger way. Glenwood is an example of an area where the plan was amended on a large scale for multiple properties along the Willamette River and was largely wrapped up in 2014. Some refinement plans haven't been updated to reflect things over time, like the Transportation System Plan update. In such cases, the more recently adopted plan generally prevails. Refinement plans typically have more specific policies that prevail over more general policies in the comprehensive plan. In this presentation, we've covered how Oregon's statewide planning framework of goals and broader rules generally guide local policy, plans, and decisions, down to the neighborhood and briefly to the site-specific permit level. To learn more about the Comprehensive Planning Program or the ongoing Development Code updates, please visit our website. Thank you for listening to this presentation.